Have you ever told someone about a big dream you had? Maybe you said, "One day, I'm going to start my own business." Or, "I'm going to become really successful." And for a few minutes, you felt amazing. People encouraged you. They told you that you could do it. You imagined yourself already standing at the finish line. But then something strange happened. The excitement disappeared. The work became harder. And slowly, that big dream became just another thing you never finished. Sometimes, the biggest mistake we make with our dreams is not failing. It is talking about them too soon. In a small town surrounded by quiet forests, there lived a young man named Elias. Elias had talent. He had ambition. And he had more dreams than he knew what to do with. But Elias had one habit that kept him from achieving any of them. He couldn't keep a dream to himself. Elias wanted to become a great craftsman. He wanted to build beautiful furniture with his own hands. A strong wooden table, a comfortable chair, a bookshelf that could last for generations. He imagined people from neighboring towns coming to buy his work. The problem was that Elias spent more time talking about his future than building it. Whenever he got a new idea, he immediately found someone to tell. And Elias always had a new idea. One Monday morning, he decided he would open the finest furniture shop in town. By lunchtime, almost everyone knew. By evening, Elias had already told the baker, the farmer, the shopkeeper, and 3 people he barely knew. He didn't realize it yet, but something was happening every time he talked. The dream became less like a goal and more like a performance. The people loved hearing about Elias's plans. "That's wonderful. You're going to do great. I knew you had something special in you." Every compliment made Elias feel taller. He went home that evening feeling like he had already accomplished something. He imagined his future shop, his name above the door, customers walking inside, beautiful furniture filling the room. He went to bed feeling proud. But the next morning, there was still one small problem. The shop didn't exist, and building it required work. Real work. Elias looked at the pile of wood in his workshop. He picked up his hammer. Then he put it down. "I'll start tomorrow," he whispered. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month. And eventually, Elias had another dream. This time, Elias wanted to build a large dining table. Not just any table. The strongest table anyone in town had ever seen. He told everyone. Again. People gathered around him as he described the table. He explained the kind of wood he would use. He explained its shape. He even described where he would sell it. Everyone was impressed. And Elias felt that familiar warmth in his chest. That feeling of being admired. But when he returned to his workshop, the excitement slowly disappeared. The wood was heavy. The measurements were difficult. His first cut went wrong. Then the second. Elias became frustrated. And instead of fixing his mistakes, he walked away. Days later, the unfinished wood was still lying exactly where he had left it. This happened again and again. Elias wanted to write a book. He announced it. He wanted to start a business. He announced it. He wanted to learn carving. He announced it. He wanted to build a house. He announced that too. Every dream began with excitement. Every dream ended with an unfinished project. And slowly, people began to notice. When Elias spoke about a new plan, they smiled. But they didn't believe him anymore. "That's nice," they would say. Then they would return to their work. Elias noticed the change. The applause was disappearing. And without the applause, his dreams suddenly felt much heavier. One evening, Elias walked beyond the edge of town. He needed somewhere quiet. There was an old workshop near the forest that belonged to a man named Samuel. Samuel had been a carpenter for more than 40 years. Everyone respected him. But Samuel rarely talked about his work. Elias had always found that strange. That evening, Elias found Samuel sitting outside his workshop, sharpening an old woodworking tool. Samuel looked at him. "You seem troubled." Elias sat down. "I don't understand myself anymore," he said. I have so many ideas, so many dreams, but I never finish anything. Samuel continued sharpening the tool. Then he asked, "Do you tell people about your dreams?" Elias looked embarrassed. "Everyone." Samuel smiled. "I thought so." Samuel stood up. "Come inside." Elias followed. The workshop was small, but unlike Elias's workshop, there were no piles of abandoned projects. Everything had a purpose. Every tool had a place. Every piece of wood was being used. Samuel walked toward a shelf. On it sat 2 wooden boxes. They looked almost identical. Samuel picked up the first. "This one took me 3 days." Then he picked up the second. "This one took me 3 months." Elias examined them, but they look almost the same. Samuel nodded. "That's because you're only looking at the outside." He placed both boxes on the table. "That's your problem too." Elias frowned. Samuel continued. "You care too much about how your dream looks when you talk about it." Samuel turned the first box upside down. "Look underneath." Elias did. The bottom was unfinished. The corners were weak. There were cracks hidden beneath the surface. Samuel turned over the second box. Its bottom was smooth. The joints were strong. The wood had been carefully reinforced. Elias finally understood. "The second one took longer, because you worked on the parts nobody could see." Samuel nodded. "Exactly." He pointed toward Elias. "You keep showing people the outside of your dreams. You tell them how beautiful they're going to be. But you don't spend enough time building the parts nobody sees. The patience, the mistakes, the boring days, the lonely hours, the work that receives no applause. That," Samuel said, "is where real dreams are built." Elias stayed quiet. For the first time, he began to understand his own behavior. Whenever he announced a goal, people praised him. And that praise gave him a strange feeling. He felt as though he had already accomplished something. He received the reward before doing the work. The excitement came early. The satisfaction came early. And once he felt satisfied, the difficult work became harder to begin. Samuel looked at him. "People don't need to hear what you're going to build. They can see it when it's finished." Elias lowered his eyes. "How do I change?" Samuel gave him a simple answer. "Build something nobody knows about." The next morning, Elias made a decision. He would build something, but this time, he would tell nobody. Not his friends, not his neighbors, not even the people closest to him. He chose something simple. A wooden chair. Nothing impressive. Nothing worth announcing. Just a chair. Elias found a quiet piece of wood. He measured it. He cut it. He made mistakes. And he fixed them. There was no audience. No applause. No one telling him he was talented. For the first time, Elias had to work simply because he wanted to finish. The first few days felt good. Then they became difficult. Elias made a mistake that ruined an entire piece of wood. He stared at it for a long time. His old habit returned. He wanted to quit. But nobody knew about the project. Nobody expected him to finish. Nobody would be disappointed if he failed. There was no reputation to protect. Only the work. So Elias started again. The second attempt was better. Then the third. Slowly, something changed inside him. He stopped needing people to believe in him. He began learning how to believe in himself. Weeks passed. The chair slowly began to look real. Elias worked after his daily job. Sometimes for an hour. Sometimes for only 20 minutes. But he showed up. That was the difference. He didn't wait until he felt inspired. He didn't announce his progress. He simply kept going. One evening, he attached the final piece. He stepped back. The chair stood in front of him. It wasn't perfect. There were small imperfections. A tiny mark here, a slightly uneven edge there. But it was real. Elias had finally finished something. And nobody had known. Elias sat down. The chair held him perfectly. He smiled. But this feeling was different from the excitement he used to feel after telling people about his plans. This wasn't the temporary pleasure of being praised. This was quieter, deeper. It belonged entirely to him. He hadn't received applause. He hadn't heard congratulations. Nobody had told him he was talented. He had simply done the work. And for the first time, Elias understood the difference between feeling successful and actually accomplishing something. A few days later, Elias placed the chair outside his workshop. He wanted to let the wood breathe in the fresh air. His neighbor walked past, then stopped. Elias. Elias turned. Did you make this? Elias looked at the chair. Yes. His neighbor walked closer. When did you make it? Elias smiled. Over the last few weeks. His neighbor stared at him. You didn't tell anyone? Elias shook his head. And for once, he didn't feel the need to explain. The chair was already explaining everything. The news spread. People came to see the chair. They complimented it. They asked Elias where he learned to build furniture. They wanted to know what else he could make. And this time, something was different. Elias didn't feel hungry for their approval. He simply thanked them, because he had already received the reward that mattered. He knew what it felt like to finish. After that, Elias started another project. A small table. Again, he told nobody. Then came a bookshelf. Then a stool. One project at a time. One quiet day at a time. And his work began speaking for him. Years passed. Elias became one of the most respected craftsmen in the region. People traveled from distant towns to buy his furniture. His workshop became larger. His skills became sharper. And eventually, a young apprentice came to him. The boy had big dreams. He wanted to become a great craftsman too. On his first day, the boy excitedly told Elias everything he planned to build. Elias listened. Then he smiled. He remembered himself. The young apprentice asked, "Do you think I can really do it?" Elias looked around the workshop, at all the things he had once built in silence. Then he answered, "Don't worry about telling people what you're going to build. Build it." Maybe you have an Elias in your own life. Or maybe you are Elias. Maybe you have a goal you've told everyone about. Maybe you've announced what you're going to become. Maybe you've talked so much about the future that you've started enjoying the idea of success more than the process of earning it. If that's you, don't feel ashamed. Just remember this. You don't have to announce every beginning. Some things are better protected by silence. Work when nobody is watching. Practice when nobody is clapping. Keep going when nobody knows what you're trying to become. Because the world doesn't need to hear your plans. It needs to see what you built from them. So, the next time you feel excited about a new dream, pause before you tell everyone. You don't need their excitement. You don't need their approval. And you don't need applause before you've even begun. Keep the dream close. Give your energy to the work. Let the mistakes teach you. Let the quiet days strengthen you. And when the time comes, don't explain what you built. Just open the door and let them see it. Because sometimes the most powerful announcement isn't something you say. It's something you finish. Thank you for listening. And remember, keep your dreams quiet, work on them patiently, and let your results speak for you. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that change the way we see life.